my childhood, I was obsessed by two things: video games and cartoons. If I wasn't playing Super Mario World or watching Cartoon Network, I was probably doing homework or taekwondo. While I fondly remember programs like Cartoons and Toonami, Looney Tunes were my absolute favorites. I mean, who doesn't know who Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck these days? We get to thank the golden age of animation for bringing cartoons to the forefront. Fleischer Studios gave us Popeye and Betty Boop, Disney gave us Mickey Mouse, and of course, Warner Brothers gave us Looney Tunes, and they all wowed audiences by showcasing what a bunch of wacky drawings can do in motion. The characters move with flimsy gestures, carefree attitudes, and lively worlds, and you really have to admire all the work the animators put in back then. It was truly a renaissance for cartoons as animations got better, grander, becoming true works of art. Flash forward to 2017, an independent video game company called Studio MDHR, headed by the brothers Chad and Jared Moldenhauer, as they developed a video game that's sole focus was to pay homage to the golden age of animation, particularly the Max Fleischer era. And when Cuphead came out, everyone raised their metaphorical cups and toasted this game's accolades. Hey, how do you beat the tutorial? Not only did it look amazing, but the game was actually super fun and more than a cartoon. I even heralded this game as my 2017 Indie Game of the Year, but I want to do this game justice as I want to really sink my teeth in this game. Or rather, dip my pen into the inkwell of this beautiful homage of 1930s cartoons. So get yourself a cup of your favorite beverage as we take a sip of what's inside Cuphead. Is it brains? Ew!
A brawl is surely brewing. And begin!
The first two boss battles, the Rupak and Goopy Legrand, are perfect to get people set in for what is to come. The vicious Veggie Trio have simple attack patterns like Cell Sputter's Dirt Fire that teaches you simple, straightforward projectiles that can easily be dodged. Ollie Bulb's Tears of Pain have non-specific fall pattern attacks that you'll have to learn to outmaneuver. Chauncey Chatanet unleashes homing attacks in the form of his easily dispatchable carrots and a psychic beam that attacks you where you stand, teaching you even more about the types of attacks you'll have to face. Goopy Legrand is a simple fight, but he's no pushover, as his fight shows that boss fights can evolve as the fight continues, keeping you on your toes. At first, he's easy to run and gun, but once he gets big, he's slightly hard to avoid. Thankfully, all his punches are avoidable if you learn to duck. Trust me, you'd be surprised how ducking can save your life. The bosses aside from these two will be much harder to bustle and tussle with. Some bosses can be a cinch if your reflexes are fast enough, which is almost a requirement considering almost all of the fights are supposed to last less than 2 minutes. I know that in my first playthrough it took me at least 5 hours to complete, whereas my second playthrough took me over 3. So yeah, know the game enough, you definitely gon' get good. And no matter how many times the bosses might beat you, the progress bar always shows how far or close you are to beat them. It's just that just one more round mentality that keeps you going, especially since they taunt you after every single loss. And like Dark Souls, you always get that sense of accomplishment when you achieve the knockout win. And if you're anything like me, sometimes you gotta make fun of your enemy for all the hard times they have given you.
I dream of Jimmy!
Dead. Oh, I'm awfully sorry. I'm going up the wheels of this crazy train. I blow to Kingdom Come. You don't mean a thing to me if you can't even swing.
Good day for a swell battle. Now go!
You know this was coming, but can you blame me? This game is coming hard. This game is like Gunstar Heroes' boss battles with Contra level difficulty, except for the one-hit deaths. And the bosses are always a great time to fight because you're not just fighting a boss, but an ever-evolving boss fight. Every fight gives you new phases to learn, patterns to avoid, or even parry. The parry system definitely negates attacks if they are pink, and usually rewards you by increasing your special meter, giving you more opportunities to use your special attacks. I say usually because it's almost hard to tell when your parry compensates you. Until now, how could I tell? By a simple sound cue, and I don't mean just a slap. Tank fighting Reby and Croaks, the incoming pink fiery fist count, and you can tell when you hear a followed by the slap. The lever for the slot machine is parryable, but it just gives you a simple slap. It's like the game rewarding you with a special high five like hey after a special parry. In a way, Cuphead is like Dark Souls. Take the risk, you get rewarded. If you parry the correct way, you gain higher ranks. For instance, nobody likes Junkyard Jive because of all the bullet hell bullshit we had to deal with. And nobody certainly is a fan of Dr. Call's Diamond Attack. But when Dr. Call does attack, there are pink sparks amongst the chaos that you can parry, give you ample time to use your special attack so you don't have to finagle your way through the fight any longer. If your reflexes are sharp enough and you're patient enough, you can make it like a champ. Even the mausoleums encourage you to chain more parries, which can net you 5 consecutive parries for an achievement. You parry, you get more special, and in a way, watching you pull off multiple parries is an art in of itself. Speaking of art,
Here's a real high-class bout. Here goes.
in today's day and age, society views cartoons as kid stuff without question. But I say, are you people really that serious? Have you even seen some cartoons, especially when they try to slip in? It may be pleasing to the eyes of children, but animation connoisseurs knows that it's made for everyone, which is why they are made to look so lively. And watching all these boss animations is no exception. In fact, it made me greatly appreciate the creativity and what goes in these battles. You will not stop to think how a flower fires pollen like a Gatling gun, a frog going inside his toad brother's body to transform into a slot machine, or even a bird transforming his head into a hand firing 3 bullets. I don't know why, but my favorite fights have got to be Jimmy the Great and Bebby the Clown. Maybe it's because they are the most visually appealing, creative, and different throughout. Jimmy taunts you with a smoke cloud of you with dead eyes and launches projectiles. Then he turns into a shmup level for a long while, until he attacks you from a sarcophagus. Then he retreats and meditates to summon a puppet doppelganger of you, and then enters the last phase as a giant. It's almost exactly how I imagine fighting against Disney's Genie, except he's orange and evil. Bebby comes at you with carnival-themed attacks, complete with a bumper car, balloon factory, roller coaster, carousel horse, and finally a swing ride, while he laughs maniacally. These boss fights are just so visionary, and that's the key word, visionary. The animators really know how to make these bosses come alive and filled with energy. Just playing this game, you really feel like you're in the Fleischer cartoon world, seeing all the rubber hose limbed beings moving around. And that's what they do. They move, even when they are idle. Sally stage play squats, and Captain Brineybeard flexes, and Cagney does his arm shimmy. You got to respect the effort the animators did, even giving new animations and updating their cutscenes to have some animation too. They even added in some optional secret bosses for you to contend with, and their efforts truly prove we don't deserve them.
A great slam and that stuff. It's on.
While the game is visually appealing and plays spectacular, they also got the sound design down too. Cuphead does sound like it belongs in the 1930s, including the announcer. Speaking of which, can we all just say his openers are as iconic as Mortal Kombat's and Super Smash Bros.'s announcer too? Even small sound cues really give the game personality. Say like, look around the Inkwell Isles for instance. When you walk around the overworld, you can walk over to the boss stages and hear some sounds from whoever you are about to face. You'll hear singing at Calamaria's stage, the cuckoo clock at Wally Warbles' birdhouse, and hear the roars of Grim Matchstick at his castle top. Of course, you'll barely hear it if you got the music cranked up high, but it's there. Speaking of the music, what else can be said? It's fantastically excellent! They really went all out when they brought in the big band, and you'll be humming the tunes long after you've been playing. Even the online music community has remixes and covers by the metric ton. But words don't mean much here, so allow me to show you with dance. So, let's swing, gamers! And now for something I think you'll really like.
This match will get red hot. You're up!
Cuphead is one of my favorite indie games of all time, next to Shovel Knight. As someone who loves video games and cartoons, this was the perfect game for someone who was shaped by such marvels. I personally can't wait for the delicious last course, or DLC, and see what Studio MDHR has to offer. And what do you know, just recently, Netflix just announced a Cuphead cartoon series coming soon! Now that's quite the accomplishment! In fact, I propose a toast to the brothers who put everything on the line for this game, including refinancing their own house to get this game out. To the animators who hand drawn a lot of the assets, to Christopher Madigan and the big band that knocked our socks off with their music. To the whole team that made this game possible, but most of all, the gamers that have made Cuphead a resounding success. Cheers to you, Studio MDHR. These are the many reasons why I believe Cuphead is one indie game that will always be shining brightly. Ah, shucks. One last dance. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it all across the web. Would you kindly? Till then, I'm Moon Spirit saying good night.